Hi again then guys, and welcome to of course another tune setup for Gran Turismo Sport, and this is a tune style which we haven't covered in some time, a money earning tune for Blue Moon Bay. Now this one is geared with beginners in particular in mind, and we've done a couple of beginner spec tunes like this before, stuff like the Porsche GT3 for instance, which is also very good. Cars which have, well, of course a six-figure price because you have to enter the race, but also they're on the lower end of that spectrum. So you don't have to buy something like a GT40 to be able to enter. You can enter with something much more cheap, much more affordable, and then work your way up to using like an N300 or even an N200 car if you want to later on. Now this car is one which you can get very easily. This is actually one of the cheapest options for entering this event, the BMW M4. And of course we covered it yesterday in review form. It's 120,000 credits. You can tune it to multiple classes. So generally speaking, what I'd recommend is if you are newer to this event, if you're still a beginner at Blue Moon Bay, let's say you've just got to the highest tier of racing, which is where this one is, but you're not familiar with the race. Now if you're completely unfamiliar, I would recommend clicking the link down below in the description, which lays out the whole thing. But if you are familiar with that, if you've already watched that video, then it comes to the tuning. Now, you could tune this car for N400, which is what I've done. That's what I'd recommend. But if you find it still too difficult to win as a beginner, I would recommend increasing the power to N500, and then you will still earn 315,000 per race as long as it's clean, and you'll still earn quite a bit anyway, even if it's not clean. Then once you find it easier in N500, reduce the power to N400, which is what I've got here of course, and you'll earn even more. It's an extra 30 grand a race, which doesn't sound like a huge difference, but trust me, that adds up very, very quickly. And then of course you could try N300. This car I think has potential in N300. It's certainly one of the most affordable cars to be able to run at that level, but it just doesn't feel quite quick enough. I may continue working on it, see what I can do, but for now I think N400 is probably the best bet. Now as far as the upgrades go, I'd recommend dropping the weight as much as you can. That helps you primarily through the corners. As far as power, as I said, put it to N500, then N400 once you get used to it. Traction control, you don't need turned on. I would recommend super soft tyres to get maximum grip. As far as suspension, we've got it on 120mm front and back. Frequency as high as possible, then 7 for the anti-roll. The lowest possible settings all round for the dampers, so compression and rebound. Neutral camber and neutral toe. As far as the diff, I've got the lowest initial torque. As you can see, the highest settings then for both acceleration and braking, and as far as the gearbox, I've basically just fitted the customized transmission and then set the auto setting to a fraction under 200 miles per hour. I haven't touched the rest, and I've just pretty much left it there. So again, if you do have it in N500, you might want to extend those gears out a little bit more. Say put the auto setting up to maybe 205 or 211 instead, and vice versa, put it down a little bit if you have N300 specs instead. But that's it for the tune. Of course you can change around some things if and when needed, like the power, like the gearbox, but what you want to see is, can it actually win in the race, and if so, how easy is it? Now the simple answer is of course yes, of course it can win in the event, because otherwise I wouldn't be doing the tune. As far as the kind of laps that you're running, you're looking at around the mid 47 to mid 48 second lap region. So for those of you who have been around on the channel for a while, or have already used and probably still use my other tunes for stuff like the GT40 or the KTM and various others too, you probably have no need for this. You're already earning more. This is purely for beginners. So of course N300 and N200 do earn even more money, and there are definitely better cars out there. The problem is most of them cost a lot more, and when you're still a beginner, you simply don't have the funds to buy something like a GT40. Whereas if you do this, well, if you do this event for like an hour, you can pretty much buy any supercar you want now, because you earn so much money from it. Now as far as actually using the car, I would recommend paying close attention to the flashing gear indicator at the bottom of the screen, because that's a good indicator of when to brake. Now you don't want to brake really heavy, just give it maybe half braking, and then allow the car to coast into the corner, coast through the middle of the turn, and then ease onto the throttle as you exit the corner. If you feel it getting a bit heavier, just back off the throttle, maybe tap the brake a little bit. But overall, I've tuned it to have slightly heavier steering so that it's easier to control, because it's much easier to predict a car that understeers than a car that oversteers and wants to slide out all the time. Now, if you go too slow through a corner, you'll find that it tries to drift instead, so you need to keep it, say, above 100 miles per hour at all times. That's pretty easy though, it's a very good handling car. And then on the straights, it's not the quickest thing out there, but it's quick enough. So you'll make up most of the time through corners. In this event, I was up against the Veyron in first place. If you're up against a LaFerrari, you might want to exit and restart because you could struggle. But I beat the Veyron by about 6 seconds, so that gives you some idea of what you can do. If you find that too difficult, then you could try something different like a Porsche 911, but I'd recommend trying this one because it is good enough to win, and it will also teach you how to do the race properly as well, by not giving it to you on a silver platter, in effect. It's not difficult to drive, but you also do need to focus and learn the event, learn the track, learn how to weave through your opponents, and also learn how to keep the race clean to get maximum cash. So if you are new, I hope you enjoy using this car. It's very affordable compared to a lot of the others, and of course check out my other money earning tunes and other tunes in general by clicking here on screen. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.